Spirit as life force. Symbol, archetype, origins, myth and meaning. Leslie A. White observes that it was the exercise of the symbolic faculty that brought culture into existence, and it is the use of symbols that makes the perpetuation of culture possible. Without the symbol there would be no culture, and man would be merely an animal, not a human being. Spirit as life force is a profound symbol archetype deeply embedded in early human cultures throughout the world. In the Judeo-Christian tradition, the genesis of spirit as life force is rooted in the Hebrew word ruach, which translates as wind, breath, or spirit. Exodus chapter 31 verse 3 proclaims, "I have filled him with the Spirit of God, with wisdom, with understanding, with knowledge and with all kinds of skills." In a similar line of thought, Socrates observed, "Wonder is the beginning of wisdom." Abraham Joshua Heschel, author and theologian, made the same observation. Wonder rather than doubt is the root of all knowledge. Thomas Aquinas, 1225 to 1274, who dominated 13th century Europe in philosophy and theology, similarly observed, "Wonder is the desire for knowledge." The ancient Hebrew word, yada, which roughly translates as knowledge, appears nearly 950 times in the Old Testament, which is an indication of the relevance of knowledge in Jewish thought. In contrast to modern impersonal abstractions, the Hebrew word, yada, conveyed a personal and intimate relationship with God as up close and personal, compared to the modern philosophical emphasis on abstractions and rational analysis, which has limits. As Albert Einstein explains, it would be possible to describe everything scientifically, but it would make no sense. It would be without meaning, as if you described a Beethoven symphony as a variation of wave pressure. Saint Gregory of Nyssa also highlights the inherent conflict between beauty and wonder versus abstractions when he said, "Concepts create idols, only wonder comprehends anything. People kill one another over idols. Wonder makes us fall to our knees, however, the wheel has turned." Ian McGilchrist emphasizes that an increasingly mechanistic, fragmented, decontextualized world has come about, reflecting, I believe, the unopposed action of a dysfunctional left hemisphere. Cognitive processes. The book of Genesis opens with the act of creation and the role of spirit. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. This portrayal of the Spirit of God highlights its integral role in bringing life and order to the cosmos. In the Old Testament, the passage Job chapter 32 verse 8 states, "But there is a spirit in man, and the breath of the Almighty gives him understanding." Albert Einstein observed that our perceptions of the profoundest reason and the most radiant beauty, which only in their most primitive forms are accessible to our minds, it is this knowledge and this emotion that constitute true religiosity. Later he added, "He to whom this emotion is a stranger, who can no longer pause to wonder and stand wrapped in awe, is as good as dead. His eyes are closed." The stellar beauty and wonder of the universe are brought home to us through images from the Hubble telescope. Images such as the Horsehead Nebula, a region of dark clouds of dust and gas in the Orion molecular cloud complex, where star formation is taking place, bring to mind Friedrich Nietzsche's revelation that you must have chaos within you to give birth to a dancing star. Spirituality is a natural predisposition that likely emerged at the dawn of humanity. Researchers and authors Bishop and Hyde emphasize that spirituality is a natural human predisposition. It is more primal than institutional religion and concerns a person's sense of connectedness with self, others, and the world. This inherent spiritual musical capability can be traced back to ancient times, perhaps best illustrated by the origins of music. Flutes, the oldest known musical instruments, date back 43,000 years. The scholar, A. Killen, suggests that musical capabilities may have originated as long as 275,000 years ago, which means that spirituality likely dates back to the dawn of humanity. J. Shulkin, Greta B. Ragland state, "Music is a fundamental part of our evolution, and functional because it facilitates human contact and our social self." Ian Cross observes, "Musicality can be interpreted as complementing language in human evolution, as specific significances or meanings. Musicality is a property of communities rather than of individuals. Music and evolution, spiritual identity and social self are emerging concepts." The reality is that spirituality is an emerging field of research, a fact that William R. Miller and Carl E. Thorson highlight in the title of their article, Spirituality, Religion, and Health, an Emerging Research Field 1. In Saslow's study on the correlation between spirituality and compassion, which demonstrated that spirituality is closely linked with having a spiritual identity and experiencing transcendence. More spiritually inclined individuals are often more compassionate, suggesting a link between spirituality and higher levels of empathy. 2. Viktor Frankl, renowned for his work in existential psychology, stated, "Human beings have a spiritual core with an innate need for meaning." 3. Edgar Cayce, a documented psychic and spiritual leader, observed, "The spiritual self is life, the activity of the mental and physical is of the soul and therefore a soul body." Furthermore, Cayce emphasized the importance of aligning our mental forces with our higher selves and maintaining physical fitness to offer our best to those who depend on us. 3991-1. Genesis of spirit as life force. The linguistic connection of breath and spirit. Carl Jung explored the connection between spirit and life, noting that early human beings likely connection the cessation of breathing with the mysterious concept of spirit. This realization inspired the creation of symbols to cope with the emotional traumatic reality of death. Many scientists argue that the fear of death was a significant influence the formation of spiritual and religious beliefs. The linguistic connection between the word breath and spirit is widespread throughout the diverse cultures of the world. In the Judeo-Christian tradition, spirit as life force is evident from the creation story in Genesis. Genesis chapter 1 verse 2 and Genesis chapter 2 verse 7, which describe the Spirit of God as moving over the waters, and God breathing life into man. The Hebrew word Ruach, meaning spirit, wind, or breath, captures this idea. Similarly, in Arabic, the words ra and nafs convey spirit, soul, and breath. The Latin word spiritus, from the Proto-Indo-European root pes, or spes, to blow, evolved into spirare, to breathe. In Hinduism, the Sanskrit word prana means breath or life force. Ancient Egyptians believed that ka, the vital essence, was breathed into humans at birth. In many cultures, including Scandinavian, Baltic, and Slavic, the words for breath are intimately connected to the concept of spirit. The Germanic word, ond, a gift from the god Odin, translates as breath and spirit. Carl Jung was right. The origin of spirit in human consciousness likely began with the realization that the cessation of breath marked the end of life. The archetype or symbol of spirit life force is a universal concept present in diverse cultures worldwide. In Chinese culture, this life force energy is known as Kai, symbolizing the vital life force energy of the universe. Central to the Taoist worldview, the word Qi means breath or air, but symbolically represents the life force animating all forms and manifestations of the world. Qi also embodies the vibratory nature of phenomena at molecular, atomic, and subatomic levels. Similarly, in Japan, this life force is called Ki, while in Hinduism, it is referred to as prana, or Shakti. The ancient Egyptians named it Ka, while in some African cultures it is Ash. In ancient Hawaiian Polynesian culture, it is known as Ha, or Mana. In Buddhism, life force is understood to be the life of the universe, not just the life force of man, and is viewed as a real physical reality considered to be divine. Various Buddhist concepts relate to and are connected with life force and energy. In the Buddhist Pali Canon, Vijnana is one of 3 Pali terms referring to the mind. Vijnana, Sanskrit, translates to consciousness, life force, mind, or discernment. In Hinduism, Kundalini is a form of divine energy, or Shakti, which manifests in 3 different forms. Research into the Tiboli and Blaan indigenous tribes in the Philippines reveals that the Tiboli word, nawa, or breath is embedded culture, and conveys emotion as a major characteristic. The Tiboli language has 8 different types of breath. Early human cultures had a universal view of nature and earth as a living force. That worldview is still alive in some corners of the world. William James, a pioneering psychologist, asserted, "Divinity lies all about us, and culture is too hidebound to even suspect the fact." Angel, a former counselor of mine, described spirit as literally everything, encompassing the universe beyond our limited physical existence. In the Gospels, Christ refers to the Holy Spirit as the Spirit of Truth, and emphasizes worship in spirit and truth. John chapter 4 verse 23-24. This concept has roots in Judaism, where Ruach HaKodesh, which in the Jewish tradition is the Holy Spirit, is seen as divine inspiration and prophecy. In Islam, a parallel concept, Ra al-Qudus, exists. Universality of spirit, knowledge, and understanding. Rumi beautifully encapsulated the concept of universality. The lamps are different, but the light is the same. One matter, one energy, one light mind, endlessly emanating all things. Abraham Joshua Heschel proclaims, "Our goal should be to live life in radical amazement. Get up in the morning and look at the world in a way that takes nothing for granted. Everything is phenomenal. Everything is incredible. Never treat life casually. To be spiritual is to be amazed." Spirit as life force. Symbol, archetype, origins, myth and meaning. The Kindle edition ebook, $2.99, by Charles E. Peck Jr. elaborates on this video and can be found at this link. https://www.amazon.com/dp/b0dbqrc58t. D. Balagunapit observes, "The basis of every culture and every identity is determined by its own established common symbolic expression." On individual spirituality, William James emphasized in his classic work, The Varieties of Religious Experience, that the spiritual experiences determine our vital attitude as decisively as the vital attitude of lovers is determined by the habitual sense. William James goes on to say that religious experiences and spiritual experiences can create and generate a sense of reality. The synthesis consensus among Carl Jung, Viktor Frankl, William James, and Emil Durkheim is that emotionally energized unconscious spiritual symbols and symbolism exert in some circumstances a strong influence on beliefs and behaviors. Furthermore, both Furlow and Kelcht emphasize the pervasive power of unconscious spiritual symbolism. Spirit as life force is a symbol archetype pervasive in early human societies in diverse cultures worldwide. Carl Jung identified the origins of spirit in human consciousness as the realization that the cessation of breath marked the end of life and the end of the mysterious life force, because of the nearly universal linguistic connection in languages between breath and spirit. The concepts of spirit as life force and transcendental intelligence are not confined to traditional cultures. Nobel Prize-winning physicist Max Planck stated, "There is no matter as such. All matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force which brings the particle of an atom to vibration and holds this most minute solar system of the atom together. We must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious and intelligent mind."